the seventh Harry Potter book. Any Harry Potter fans out there? Well, among us fans, there's a little shorthand for the book. We say that it's the book that it's about camping and death. Does that sound familiar? Because the three main characters kind of run around the countryside in a magical tent, and then there's a big war and a lot of people die. So it's the book about camping and death. Unfortunately, they made the seventh book into two movies, one about camping and one about death. Well, I'm going camping, actually backpacking this week, but today's gospel reading is not about camping and death, it's about money and death. Everyone's two favorite topics, right? So that was supposed to be funny. Yeah, it was. I don't know. That one. It was a long run to the joke, I guess. So actually, this is such a rich gospel reading. It's simple, but it's got so much in it. I've had so many wonderful conversations this week around it, and I got to thinking, maybe we could have a conversation this morning. So I'm gonna ask you to do something a little unusual during a sermon time, and that is to find one person near you and just answer this question. If you're online, I don't want you to be a couch sitter. I want you to answer the question in the chat, or I suppose among those of you sitting at home. The question is, what did the rich man do wrong? What was it that he did wrong? There's not a right answer, but I want you to think about it, and just for a minute, turn to the person next to you and tell them, if you have an idea, what was it? What was his mistake? Why did God call him a fool? Okay, go. Yeah. Yes. That'll do it. That'll do it. All right, maybe 30 more seconds. Oh gosh, I didn't think about that. Yeah, I'll just repeat what people say, because we should have gotten one out earlier. Yeah. No, like at St. Mary's. Yeah. I was a little bit afraid this was going to be like the peace and I would never get you back, so we'll see. Does anybody have any? We don't have a mic to run around and get people's answers. We should have thought of that. But Wendy's got one. Yeah.
Oh, I was given this wonderful exegesis, which is we make plans and God laughs.
We make plans and God laughs. True. What else? What did the rich man do wrong? Where was his error? Paul. He didn't share. There we go. Were you going to say that, Jan? Okay, how many people said some version of he didn't share? Okay, awesome. Okay. How many people said some version of God makes plans, we make plans and God laughs? That also? Okay, what else? What else then? He didn't store up treasures in heaven. That's next week's gospel, Terry. It literally is. Yeah, Susan. In things, satisfaction and security, just in what he can see and touch, this material world. Richard.
He cared more about his abundance than he did about his loyalty to God.
Yeah, that was exactly what Jesus, he's cared more about his abundance than his loyalty to God. And Jesus, that's the punchline, right? Thus it is, he says, with those who are have a material abundance but are not rich toward God. So that's something we can think about today. What does it mean to be rich toward God? What else? Ted.
I was telling Ken, I was reminded of a book I read called The Sin of Certainty.
The Sin of Certainty.
All about making sure everything's taken care of, and if that is the case, where is your faith?
Right. Okay. So this book called The Sin of Certainty talked about if all your material things are completely buttoned down, where does faith come in? So maybe it was he didn't actually depend on God for anything. He didn't place his trust in God for anything. Anything else? Oh, I wish I would have I was going to bring my phone and see what the online people said. You have total permission to pull out your phone and see what's happening on YouTube and Facebook. Wendy.
So what he really wanted to do was enjoy life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he didn't do that. Instead, he kept working.
That's a good point. He's a classic workaholic narcissist, right? That's another thing Diana and I said. He's completely self-referential, right? It's as though if you were listening to this parable, no other person existed in the universe. It's just he, himself, and him, right? Because he's talking to himself even. He doesn't even make reference to the people that work for him, that helped harvest all of his fields, his community. It's just all about him. Yeah. And eat, drink, and be merry, fascinatingly, is actually a quote from the Bible. From the book of Ecclesiastes. So Jesus is riffing on the Old Testament wisdom literature, but the rich man leaves out the last part of that verse. Ecclesiastes says, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. Right? So he just says, eat, drink, and be merry forever, and God says, oh, wait a minute, tomorrow you die. What about that? I mean, it's funny, right? God has a sense of humor. And eat, drink, and be merry is, yes, enjoy the things of this life, right? Enjoy the good gifts God gives you, but don't place your trust in them. Don't lean on them. Don't depend on them forever, because those things change. Those things change. And so the question is, in what does our life consist, right? Jesus says life does not consist in an abundance of possessions. So we can think about that this morning. And what does life consist? Bradley, you had something.
I think it's actually ignorance.
Ignorance. Mm-hmm.
Most of us, if we get some kind of knowledge and we know better, sometimes our sources are our parents, or going to church, etc. So I read also books that most of the mistakes that we make is because ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
Know better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so maybe this guy just didn't realize, actually life is about something more than just what I have in front of me. And that's actually a really good point. I think this is an amazing parable because it doesn't actually need a lot of historical context or interpretation, because we probably live in this reality even more today in America than they did 2,000 years ago, right? You know what a huge growing industry is in the United States? Rent-a-storage, right? I'm not trying to make you feel bad if you have a rent-a-storage. But what do? We build bigger, we rent out of space in our homes and our garages, and then we build bigger barns, we rent storage space, right? And we are always talking about, I got too much stuff, I got to downsize, I got to get rid of stuff. I heard this week that, your possessions are their own punishment. You hear a lot of good little quips like that when you study this type of gospel. And our culture, our economy, is actually based on spending, right? It's based on consumption. It's based on mass consumption, so that when there's a dip in the economy and the government tries to do an economic stimulus, they give us all a tax rebate and they say, don't give it away, don't save it, go spend it, right? Go buy more stuff. So our whole economy and culture is wrapped up in this idea that the one with the most toys wins, right? Right? And people literally have that on bumper stickers. We don't need help to kind of understand this way of thinking. But how is it that we learn? How is it that we teach our children? Actually, in what does life consist? Right? In what does life consist? There's a beautiful 1-minute film on YouTube, and I hope you'll go home and look it up. Those of you who are on YouTube, wait until we're done with the service. You can look it up later. It's called A Tale of Two Seas. And it tells the story of the two seas in the Holy Land, in the land of Israel. There's the Dead Sea on one end of the River Jordan, and there's the Sea of Galilee, around Jesus' hometown, on the other end of the River Jordan. They're both fed by the same river. But one sea, the Dead Sea, is in fact dead. It is full of so much salt and mineral incrustation that hardly anything can live there. And the Sea of Galilee is full of life. It's teeming with life. 27 different fish species, birds all around the edge, this just abundance of life. And so what's the difference between the Sea of Life, the Sea of Galilee, and the Dead Sea? Does anybody know the difference? Wendy thinks she knows. Yeah, what is it, Wendy?
Water comes in and water goes out.
That's right, that's it. The Dead Sea only receives the water. The Sea of Galilee, water comes in and water goes out. And so one way we could kind of categorize the wealthy man's mistake is his lack of sharing, right? He lives, hold up your hands like this. He lives with his fists clenched around his things, right? And he can't receive any more, right? Because his fists are clenched. Hold on, hold them up. Now go like this, right? What happens if we live with our hands open? We can receive more blessings, right? And I want you to watch throughout the service. Our children already know this, who spend time in Atrium. If you watch throughout the service, you'll see at one point, particular point in the service, my hands go up like this on behalf of all of us. Do you know what that point is? During the Eucharist. During the Eucharist. When we are giving our thanks to God, offering ourselves and all of our lives to God, and receiving from God those blessings. And this is one of the rich man's mistakes, right? That he doesn't see what he has as a blessing. Right? He sees it as maybe good luck. Maybe he never learns. Maybe no one ever taught him that the good things of this world, that we look outside. Jacob was in Oxford this summer with this amazing atheist philosopher, right? I can't remember his name. He's a super famous guy. Jacob gets to hear a talk from him. And he goes, out of all of the universe, and maybe there's even other universes we don't know about, and we're just this one tiny speck in this massive universe, and there's life here. And not only is there life here, there's so much life here, but we actually, human beings have the capacity to reflect on that life. So this atheist philosopher says human beings the point of us is to reflect on the existence of everything that is, right? Here we are. We get to enjoy these good gifts. We get to see and understand the beauty of creation, the miracle of existence. We can receive that. We can let it flow through us to others, or we can live with our fists clenched. We can build, as the saying goes, longer tables or higher walls, right? We can build bigger barns, or we can throw a party, right? Now, I want to say a word about what I think gets in the way of this sometimes. And I know it does for me. I speak to you as a fellow struggler around the issue of money. Money almost always means more than money for us. Money is something that we hang so much significance on. And I see that kind of breaking down in two ways. One is we hang on at the significance of our personal self-worth. And again, our culture reinforces this at every turn, right? Or we hang on at the significance of our fear our existential fears, right? Our sense of scarcity, our fear of the dark, our fear of, like, if we don't have enough, we might cease to exist, right? And that's really hard to get beyond because we receive these messages almost our whole lives through our culture, some of us through the way that we're raised or our experiences around money when we're young. And it's difficult. It's difficult then to say, well, you can say, well, money is just money, right? You can say, we're going to receive and just let it flow through us. But it's something that we have to continue to remind ourselves of. We have to continue to go back to God and say, help me, help me, help me. I'm falling back again into that old trap around money, around worth. And it may be, as serious a thing as it is, it may be that remembering the last line of the verse from Ecclesiastes, for tomorrow we die, may be the way to freedom from that. Because in that moment, when it's just us and God, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what we've accumulated and our significance and our status. It doesn't matter anymore the fact that what we have in our bank account or our 401k might protect us from future negativity. We're there. That's it, right? It's done. It's us and God. And in that moment, when it's us and God, and I'm not talking about heaven and hell. We had this whole conversation yesterday with the Spanish ministry. Just get rid of the idea of heaven and hell. Think about the part of us that lives on, right? Think about our spirit. What is it that feeds and nourishes your spirit, the part of you that will live on? Right? Generosity, human connection, joy, love of God, right? Think about the Good Samaritan, and think about Mary of Bethany sitting at Jesus' feet, who we heard about a couple weeks ago. Luke tells us, Luke's given us all these examples, and he's telling us this is what it means to be rich towards God. It's in this that your life consists. So you can keep saying no to the lies that tell you that money is who you are, defines you in some way. You can let go of the lie that says that money will keep you safe, because it will not. And you can say yes to real life, the life that will endure, the life that cannot be taken away. I've said these things to you in the name of our friend and Savior, Jesus the Christ. Amen.